gonna die. Going too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we are going to take a look at a battle in the Hindenburg. My god, I love this ship. It is so satisfying. Very good cruiser here at tier 10. If you haven't gotten yourself a Hindenburg, you know, it definitely is something that you want to work on. Even if you were to pick one tier 10 cruiser, I'd put my all my money here on the Hindenburg. Anyway, you can see we're on Islands of Ice, and you know, we're spread a little weirdly here. At least I didn't like where I was positioned way up here to the north at A. So my plan will be to sort of stay in and behind B. At least that was my initial plan, my initial thoughts, sort of based on where we were spawned, right, and how we were sort of divided up here on the map. So with that in mind, I am going to turn my ship here to the south. I mean, the obvious reason why I don't want to go into A is I'm so close to A. I will be the first ship at A. You know, I'm either going to have to duke it out with a cruiser and some destroyers, or just some destroyers, all the time having to worry about long-range incoming fire from battleships. So I don't want to have to deal with this. I also get lucky in this map with, or rather in this match, with the matchmaking, right? Now, obviously at tier 10, it's the highest tier, so you can't get anyone above this, but it is a tier 10 battle, but I don't know if this is because there weren't many tier 10s in queue at the time, or if this is part of like some new tier 10 balancing, I don't know, but there weren't that many tier 10s in this game, right? Specifically, there were no tier 10 battleships. Basically, all I have to worry about on the enemy team are a few enemy Zows and a Shimakaze. Not too concerned about the Shimakaze, frankly. The enemy Zows are a bit of a concern for me here, because obviously they can set me on fire and do a whole bunch of damage over time very quickly. So we're turning our ship here to stay, you know, with the initial plan of staying in behind B. We can see a naked Tirpitz in front of us. Still always surprising to see one of these. If you recall, after the last patch, you had to go into all of your ships and you know, put the flags back on them, put the camels back on them, and basically hit auto supply on all of them. Now, it was annoying as all hell to get done, but I did it. But it's hilarious to see people still not doing it. Anyway, we'll let that Tirpitz go off to A now. I mean, based on where I am right now at B, we can take a look at the minimap. We can see my teammates are capping B. B is being contested, though, so we know that there is an enemy, most likely an enemy destroyer in B as well. We do see a number of allied ships, though, heading to the north. Now, obviously, we had the naked Tirpitz in front of us, who's heading to the north, so I can turn ahead with this ship. But if we look behind us as well on the minimap, we do see a number of allied battleships who are also headed towards the north. So, you know, I don't have to go all the way to A. I can essentially start doing circles in and behind B here, waiting for these ships to catch up. Once they do, push together at A as a group, if that is in fact where they continue to go. So, you know, just initial plans, just initial things that are going through my mind, and these are, you know, really good things that you want to be thinking about while you are in battle at any tier and any ship. Really is basically, you know, reading the situation, getting a general sense, a general understanding of, you know, what may take place, but more importantly, keeping in mind that this is a maybe scenario, right? Those allied ships, you have no control over them. They may in fact turn and go somewhere else, and you need to be able to react to that as well. We do see an enemy Zao off in the distance. I love the range of the Hindenburg here. We're at 20.1 kilometers, I believe is the range. 20.7, yeah, 20.7 kilometers is the range on the Hindenburg. Really good range. Really fantastic. So we are heading towards A, right? We're getting fairly close here at A. Looking at the minimap, we don't really see a whole lot of enemy ships up here in the north. It does look like the majority of the enemy ships are probably down there by B and at C. So yeah, we will push in here to A. Now, I am spotted. I fully expected it to be a destroyer, in fact. So you can see I'm queuing up my high explosive at this time, getting ready for what I thought was going to be a destroyer strike. I figured, you know, most likely that's what's going to be in this cap zone. Funny that it wasn't, however. We do see quickly there on the minimap one enemy cruiser pop up. So we do in fact have an enemy cruiser here at A. So this is interesting. I maybe don't need my high explosive anymore, so I do queue up the armor piercing. I am still kind of at this point expecting though to see another enemy destroyer. I didn't think that this enemy cruiser would go up here all by himself. It is an Admiral Hipper who is up here. Admiral Hipper is a great tier 8 cruiser. We've talked about her a bunch on the channel here, but you know, against myself and this Tirpitz, this Admiral Hipper has no chance whatsoever. And this is, you know, prime example here as well of why I did not want to push the point by myself. As a cruiser, pushing a point by yourself at the beginning of the battle is incredibly dumb. You will die, I shouldn't say you will die, but you will take a crap ton of damage, and you will pay for it dearly if you even manage to cap the point. You know, chances are you're going to die, but you know, might not always happen here. So we see torpedoes coming in. I was counting the torpedoes, so it was 2 spreads of 3 torpedoes, so that in fact confirms it for me that this is the only enemy ship here. Those torpedoes had to have been from the Admiral Hipper, so I'm convinced, yep, Admiral Hipper is the only ship in this point, so we immediately start engaging the Admiral Hipper. You can see the Admiral Hipper is engaging my friendly Tirpitz here with more torpedoes. You know, I don't really have too much to worry about in this situation. Basically just trying to get the Admiral Hipper gone as quickly as possible. Now the Hipper is giving a pretty good angle. You can see that my shots are going in and not doing a whole bunch of damage. It might be more effective to be switching over to high explosive, but I'm going to keep my armor piercing loaded up just in case, right? I mean, these shots can go in and can always surprise you. So there we go. There's my first kill. The Admiral Hipper is down. We just need to cap the A point, and then we can move and help out B. Now we do technically have B, but B is being contested by the enemy, so we need to keep this in mind as well, right? Because frankly, at this point in time, the enemy is the only, the enemy is the only team that actually has a point that is gaining them, or has a cap that is gaining them points at this time. C, right? We don't have that as of yet. There we go. We just captured A, so fantastic, and B is no longer contested, so we just gained the point, the cap lead, which is fantastic. And in terms of points, you know, it is fairly close right now. So I'm doing some long-range firing there at an enemy Tirpitz off in the distance. I see this enemy Zhao coming out from around the corner. I really wanted to surprise the player there with some armor piercing. What I wasn't factoring in was the fact that the Zhao had decreased speed in order to avoid the torpedo. So my shots that are going in are woefully, you know, way off range here. Oh well, whatever. Keep putting shots in. That's another glorious thing here about the Hipper, is the rate of fire is phenomenal on this ship. So you know, it's fairly easy to start sending shots down range and to start adjusting those shots as well. You know, you can really judge where those shots are going to land, and before you know it, you already have another salvo ready to go. Now we can see that the enemy is capping B, so this kind of sucks here. I didn't want this to happen, obviously, because we really do need this third point here, rather the second point, especially considering how close the game is right now. Now, so far in terms of losses, the enemies have lost a destroyer and a cruiser, while my side is down 1 cruiser. We can see where we quickly saw there, 1 cruiser just got really damaged by one of my allies. Not 100% sure what it was, but congratulations to the ally there who managed that damage. That's fantastic. We do have shots coming in from the Tirpitz. There are 2, so Tirpi, I don't know. Tirpitz. But anyway, we can see them over here. Do glance, one of my allies wasn't paying too much attention. I glanced in North Carolina there, but we do see the Tirpitz, and we are going to start firing it on this Tirpitz, basically at a stop at this point in time, hoping, you know, to be able to do something to this guy. I think the Tirpitz had commented that he was firing HE at me and just couldn't explode me. That's strange. A battleship firing high explosive at a cruiser. Okay, all right. We'll let it go, I suppose. Anyway, I wasn't going to push too far to the south, right? I was kind of happy with my positioning here, just to the south of A, in by this little island, this little gap here, because what I was waiting for is, again, looking at the mini-map, we can see that on the western side of the map, I have 2 friendly battleships, or at least 1 friendly battleship and another friendly ship, who are pushing to the south, and most likely are going to circle around and come into B from the west side, right? So I want to be in a position where I can support these players, and more importantly, bring in fire from a different direction to help out these guys, right? Hopefully split up the enemy fire here as well. We can see the enemy Tirpitz is coming, basically, you know, sailing straight through the B point, and this is exactly what is happening here. This Tirpitz is being occupied by my allies who are on the western side of B. So the Tirpitz isn't actually going to fire at me. He's going to be too concerned with those allies, allowing me to start, you know, doing more consistent damage to the Tirpitz on top of the damage that my allies are already doing. So really working out well. Now that shot itself right there wasn't so great. I mean, Tirpitz coming straight on to me, and I'm being stubborn and I'm keeping with my armor piercing here. It does a bit of damage. Not as much damage as the allied torpedo strike there, obviously, but still, bit of damage done. And now we are back onto another Zao. So we can see the Zao off in the distance. This is in fact the second Zao, right? We did catch a quick glimpse there on the west side of the first Zao we were firing at. So we put a few shots into this Zao. Now I wasn't willing to go all the way into B just yet, so I am going to turn and get myself out of this situation. There'd be a lot of crossfire at B right now, so I didn't want to subject myself to that at this point in time. So lower the throttle, make the turn, and pull out of here. Turns out it was a pretty good call because we do see some torpedoes coming in from an enemy destroyer, which most likely I probably would have eaten one of those. I probably would have tried to splice it there and would have eaten one. Now I do see my ally North Carolina here as well. I really don't want to ground this player and have this player run into these torpedoes, so really being careful, and it's something I would recommend that you guys keep in mind as well when you're out there playing and you do see enemy torpedoes on the way in. You see an ally that's close to you and you have the potential to ram that player. Make every effort not to ram the player. Don't just try to save yourself, try to save yourself and the ally. Very, very important. So we get clear of the torpedoes, that's all fine and good. We do see a Zao and an enemy destroyer circling around coming up the east side of the map. So we'll keep those people in mind, but for now I am going to continue to focus on this B point. I really want to take B. Now I do see my friendly Shimakaze making a push into B, and it's at this point in time that I say to myself, alright Thotgor, we're going in. There's no more circling around in the back of B. That we have to make a move, and I'm going to make the move right now. Well, my friendly Shimakaze made the move for me. Good call by that player as well. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to support this Shimakaze. Do what I can to get rid of these enemy destroyers, because we know there's at least one enemy destroyer in the smoke here. Now I've got my high explosive queued up, ready to go once the enemy destroyer pops up. There's the enemy destroyer, so we see it in the reverse, engines are out, so going fairly slow, so we're going to start immediately engaging the player with high explosive. You do need to keep in mind while playing German cruisers that the German cruisers do not have the best high explosive damage value on them. The high explosive on German cruisers definitely has its place and its value within the game, but you just keep that in mind. You don't expect to do a whole bunch of damage to enemy destroyers with your high explosive. You'll do decent damage. It's nowhere near Zao or even American battleship numbers, or I should say Russian battleship numbers as well. Anyway, shots continue to go into the enemy destroyer. We know the enemy destroyer is almost down. We're getting closer into the B point now. Hopefully we'll be able to start capping it here shortly, if we can get the enemy destroyer killed. If not, at least I want the enemy destroyer to be pushed out of the point so we can in fact cap the point and it's not just going to be contested. In terms of overall points for the match, you can see it's very close still at about 598 to about 632 now that the enemy destroyer is gone. So fantastic. We do still see the Zao on the western side of the map on the eastern side of the map, I apologize, still pushing up towards the north, right? We still need to keep this player in mind. So here we go, we're finally into B and we finally are starting to cap. We do see this other Zao pop up here as well. I was going to try and engage this enemy Zao, frankly. I did want to try and get the player down, but very dangerous. Zaos are incredibly dangerous because basically every salvo that comes in from the Zao, you have to expect it to set you on fire. Yes, that's a second salvo from the Zao and the second fire that has been set. I've already used my repair ability, so this fire will be burning for its duration. So I decide I'm not going to be taking on the enemy Zao. At least not alone. Instead, my team is focused on this North Carolina. The North Carolina, frankly, is a pretty big threat for me right now, but luckily, North Carolina is not even focused on me at all. So we're about to see, good example of just how much damage a Hindenburg can dish out to a battleship that is, close in and giving a full-on broadside. This North Carolina had, just no idea. I don't think I took any shots from the North Carolina at all. The player was just too focused on trying to shoot some of my ally ships who are further down range than I am. And it also is a good tip of the hat to situational awareness, right? Making sure that you're situationally aware of what's going on around you. Otherwise, you will end up like this North Carolina, shot up by a Hindenburg and taken out by torpedoes because you drove in a straight line. Oh man. Anyway, we do manage to take the B cap zone, so fantastic. This is great. We do see some enemy ships in and around us. We have the Zhao in our sights right now that we're firing at. We're getting a potential collision warning here, so I drop my throttle. We're going to do a hard turn to port because I do not want to ground myself, especially in front of all these enemies. And here we go. We see the enemy destroyer and the enemy Zhao who are pushing up the west side. They're finally making their move in their play on A. So I have a choice, a decision to make here. Am I going to circle back and help defend A, or do I want to push forward and take the C point? I do decide to circle back and help defend A. I figured that this was a pretty decent call, considering up here the north at A I do have 2 allied ships. With the addition of myself we'll make a third, so hopefully we'll be able to take down these enemy players without too much issue. On top of that, to the south, we, as far as I know, there's only one Zhao down there, and I've got already some ships down there to deal with that Zhao. So yeah, I'm gonna go to A, and I mean, you know, all of this combined as well, A is closer. A is just closer. I mean, it's a close game already. I really didn't want to lose. So yeah, I'm going to be going to A. Now we have this Tirpitz in our sights here. Again, the Tirpitz player is not really paying attention to me. Thankfully is preoccupied with some of my allies. So I'm able to get some quick damage done into this Tirpitz. About 10,000 damage alone in that first salvo, which was not too shabby at all. You can see more friendly torpedoes on the way for the Tirpitz. That's a shit ton of torpedoes. Probably from my friendly Shimakaze. And those will probably end up killing the Tirpitz as well, so fantastic. We can see at A that the enemies have now capped the point, so we definitely need to get ourselves into the A point here and start capping it. Enemy Tirpitz has just been taken down, so we know, 2 cruisers and a destroyer remaining, so it's 2 Zhaos and 1 destroyer remaining. So here comes some torpedoes. I freaked out a little because I thought I was going to eat one of these torpedoes, but I'm okay. Don't need to worry about them. Easily able to splice them here. Now we do have the enemy destroyer pop up, so I have armor piercing loaded because, I was expecting to fight a Zhao. I knew the destroyer was here, but I also know the Zhao is here, so I'm not willing to actually switch over to my high explosive. Yeah, it's controversial, I won't say it isn't, but what, I do manage is to actually kill the enemy destroyer, so fantastic. So enemy destroyer is gone, managed to get myself another kill there, and a Confederate, so fantastic. We do see the enemy Zhao here in our sights, and fairly dangerous situation here, right? Enemy Zhao is firing high explosive at me, so the enemy Zhao will be setting me on fire. I have a bit of hit points, so it's okay, I can take some damage here. The problem is, if the Zhao decides to load armor piercing while I'm turning away from him or her, this could quickly land me at the bottom of the sea. The Zhao could quickly just, with the armor piercing broadside into me, could quickly take down my Hindenburg. So really wanted to be aware of this, and so basically the only option I have remaining is to drive straight at the Zhao. I was waiting for the Zhao to turn first. Now the Zhao did turn and fired his gun, so I decided that I was going to turn and fire off my torpedoes, so my torpedoes are away. I'm already in the turn. I'm committed now, so I'm going to be turning away from the Zhao. Again, I do still have some pretty good hit points remaining. We can see the Zhao just did shoot armor piercing at me, but I got lucky with those, so not too shabby at all. The Zhao is now turning to kind of deal with my torpedoes. I didn't expect my torpedoes, to hit or, to kill the Zhao. What I wanted from the torpedoes was just simply to distract the Zhao. Now I had a bit of a muck up there with my armor choosing, so I didn't get to fire as much as I wanted at the Zhao, but whatever. Zhao is gone, don't have to worry about the player anymore. Fantastic, and looking pretty good for our chances to actually get victory out of this, which is excellent. So we're going to circle back into A. We're going to try and get ourselves into A and help get the assist on the cap here, because that's just, more experience, more credits that are going to add up and hopefully give us positive money when this is all said and done. But not a too bad of a game overall. I do find on Island Device that I do tend to prefer the whole A and B strategy as opposed to C. And I think it has something to do with the fact that the channel between A and B is open, which provides for better defense of the 2 points. Whereas the channel between B and C is closed by that landmass there in the middle, right? Now sure, you can go around it and whatnot, but it just changes it up a little and just doesn't make it as advantageous to the attacker and defender, because I find it fairly, good and reasonable to attack A and B as opposed to B and C. C doesn't offer much cover, as you're pushing into it, whereas A does, because you have larger land masses on, one side of you to cover you and shield you from the enemy. So there's that. So we're just finishing up the last enemy Zhao now. We can see some of the ships remaining. I do see the Thotgor here in front of me. I couldn't actually believe that the player was just going to ram right into me, so it's like, oh god, so I immediately start turning. And the player, yeah, we do ram here. No worries though. I mean, the player immediately, apologized in chat, offers up some explanation. Doesn't really matter. I don't really care. You don't know, no hair off my back anyway. But one last Zhao remaining, and then we're going to be able to call it victory here. I mean, never actually managed to take out the enemy Zhao, right? 999 points at this time. We can see lots of torpedoes on the way for the Zhao if the Zhao were to choose to run into them, but doesn't. We finished with a victory. Fantastic and pretty decent game. I mean, again, I love this Hindenburg. This Hindenburg is amazing. It does wondrous things. I do see a lot of people in Hindenburgs playing them very, very wrong, but if you can play it right, it'll just work out for you every time. So you can see overall results here, right, weren't too bad. I mean, not the best damage I've ever gotten in a Hindenburg game here by far, but still, good game, good teamwork that was taking place here as well, which was fun to see. 231,000 credits is what I do end up walking away with when all is said and done, which is fantastic, because it did end up costing about 224,000 credits for repair and all the consumable whatnots and that stuff, right? And of course Confederate medal, which isn't too bad. Anyway, that is today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Remember to hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Remember to hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.